Hi, Gary here again, and in this video I want to cover question and answer technique. It is a massive subject, so I'll probably do other videos on other elements of it, but this is to cover generally all of the question and answer technique. So, what types of questions have we got? We've got open and closed questions. Open questions are going to generate an answer that isn't as targeted as a closed question. With a closed question, there should only be one answer that you're looking for, and if you ask the right question and the pupil knows the answer, they will give you the right answer. With an open question, then you could get lots of different answers. Some might be wrong, might be in the right area, but they won't be as specific as a closed question answer. So open questions and closed questions are the two of the main types that we would use. When you do ask a question though, try to avoid getting a yes or no answer, because from that you would have to ask another question and to get the answer you're looking for, and that would only waste time. So for example, in a recap, if you wanted the pupil to talk about MSPSL, you wouldn't just say, do you know the MSPSL routine, because they would just say yes. You would ask them to explain the MSPSL routine, which would generate an answer from them. Try to start the question with a W word, and that again will avoid you getting a yes or no answer, and you'll probably get the answer you're looking for. So start it with which, when, where, what, why, those kind of questions. So for example, which mirrors are you going to check? When would you give a signal? Where are you going to position? What gear do you need to be in? Those kind of things. So if you can try to target the answer you're looking for, ask a specific question, you're usually going to get the answer that you're looking for, and that'll save you time. And time is very important in this, because you've only got half an hour in which to teach something. If you spend too long asking questions in a recap, for example, then you're going to waste time on the practical part. So target the question to the answer that you're looking for. Think of the answer first and then ask the question. So if you know what the answer should be, you can use the invent a question that is then going to create that answer for you, and try to make it relevant to whatever it is you're teaching. So again, going back to recapping, if you're going to recap on something, there's no use recapping on something that's not relevant to the new subject that you're going to teach. So always recap on something that's relevant to the new subject and ask questions about that. Make the questions achievable as well. There's not much point in asking a question about something that the pupil wouldn't know about at this stage, so make sure that the pupil should know the answer to the question before you ask it, and that would depend on what they've done before this particular subject that you're going to teach. So you would find out what they've done so far and then ask questions that relate to what skills, knowledge and ability they would have that would help in the new subject. Listen carefully to the answer as well. Quite often you would get a wrong answer, which might sound right, but it's slightly wrong. So listen carefully to that, and don't just assume that because you've heard the right words, for example, that they're actually in the right order. So, for example, MSPSL, the answer might be, if you said, what does MSPSL stand for? They might say mirror, speed, position, signal, look. Well, it should be mirror, signal, position, speed, look. So do listen carefully to the answer and make sure it was correct. Give feedback as well. So when you do get a correct answer, tell them it was correct. Don't just move on to something else. Give them feedback. Tell them, yeah, well done, that was a good answer. And if the answer is half right but not fully right, again, give feedback. Tell them, well, that was good, but there's a little bit more to it than that, so you can add to it if there's anything missing from the answer that they gave you. Use probing questions more on second phase to find out what the pupil's thinking and what their attitudes are towards things, so that you can get into their head a little bit, and you're not being too helpful then with the questions that you're going to be using. You're trying to find out what they think about something, what they're seeing and what they're thinking about doing about it. Use thought-provoking questions as well to get them to think differently, perhaps about the way that they're dealing with the situation. If there's a fault, for example, and you want them to change the way that they see that situation so that they deal with it differently next time, then you could give them a question that would make them see the situation in a different way and make them think about it differently, so that then next time they dealt with it, they would have a better idea of how to deal with it correctly. That might sound a little bit complex, but maybe just to give you a bit of an example of that, if they, let's say something simple, got too close to a parked car and they didn't really understand why they shouldn't leave enough room, you could ask a question, well, what do you think if a door if the door opened, or if a child stepped out from behind that car? So you're making them think with a question. You're not just giving them the answer on a plate, you're making them have to think about the situation. So by saying, well, what do you think would happen if that door opened? And then they would probably say, oh right, yeah, I might hit it. So that then makes them think differently about the amount of space that they're going to give. So thought-provoking questions, mainly for second phase. That will also change attitudes as well. Changing attitude is quite difficult, but if you can use questions again to get them to see things in a different way, bring in other people into situations. So for example, if the pupil's coming very fast up to a give way and stopping very suddenly, they might be saying to you, well, I can stop, what's wrong with that? You know, I am giving way, I am stopping, but you still know that it's too fast, rather than just saying, well, it's too fast, it's too fast. Make them think differently about why that could be a problem. So you could bring in third parties, you could bring in what that would look like to somebody on the major road. You coming up to the junction, they're driving along on the major road, see you tearing up to the junction. How are they going to feel about that? Or somebody from behind you. Somebody from behind might be following you at the speed that you're following, and then all of a sudden you stop suddenly and they're not ready to stop. So what do you think might happen next? So you can try and change a pupil's attitudes by using questions like that and get them to see things differently. The why question is important, and a lot of people use why as kind of a blunt instrument. They'll just say, why did you do that? That's not really how we should use the why question. What we need to do when we're asking why is to check the knowledge and understanding. So if we check that a pupil's got knowledge about something, then they know about what they should do, but do they understand it? And that's where the why comes in. So for example, checking mirrors, you might see a fault where the pupils check their interior mirror but not the left mirror before they've signalled left. So you would then find out, have they got the knowledge? Do you know which mirrors to check before turning left? And find out if they knew it was interior left. Now they might have the knowledge, but do they understand it? And that's where you can ask why. So you would then say, so why do we need to check those mirrors before you signal or turn left? And that's where you'll find out if they fully understand it. And if they don't, they'll be able to tell you, or they'll give you an incorrect answer, which you can then try and get them to look at differently. So that's all for question and answer technique at the moment. It is a big subject, so I will cover it again in different videos in a lot more depth with different aspects, but hopefully that's been helpful to you. So I'll just leave you with the motto again: 20 letters, 10 words, just one meaning. If it is to be, it is up to me. So prepare to pass.